Welcome to East Coast Bias. I'm your co-host Christian, along with my fellow co-hosts Jack and Dan, three guys who love a bunch of East Coast sports teams that we discuss in depth on this show. Today we'll be talking about the past week for the Nats, Mets, and Yanks, and then we'll give you our picks for the NFL season. Let's get right into it, boys. Nats have won 4 of the last 5, Mets have 4 and 3 in the last 7, and the Yanks are down in the dumps, lost 7 of 8. Jack, you get the honors this week. Nats are on fire. Are you suffering from playoff fever?
No chance. They are on fire, but it's too little too late. Trey Turner's turned into a superstar. I feel like Turner and Soto are both having MVP-level seasons, and the entire rest of the team's doing absolutely nothing. Usually it's the bullpen, but the bullpen hasn't been the problem. Starting pitching's been a little off. Losing Strasburg for the season really hurt. But outside of those two guys, we've had some injury problems. Howie Kendrick's on the DL again with a hamstring issue, so – they're 1 bat short. They may be 2 bats short. Makes you think about what they could have done if Rendon. But again, I feel like this is the perfect mulligan season. It's going to be like it never happened for Nats fans, and hopefully we'll just come back semi-healthy, ready to go in 2021.
Luis Garcia, though, is this another superstar in the making for the Nats?
I don't know if he's a superstar in the making for the Nats, but he's definitely an above-average everyday starter at second base. He's a really advanced hitter for how young he is. He's 20. He's like so. He comes up and he's got great strike zone recognition. He's an okay defender. I think he's got room to improve there. But he's really proven to be able to hit major league pitching, unlike Carter Kieboom right off the bat. He's got a great attitude, and I think he's going to be a long-term solution at second base. We're going to have Turner and Garcia at the Keystone combo for a long time. That's helpful. Build up the middle, they say.
What's going on with Kieboom, though? Is he not going to make it? Is this just rookie struggles? What's going on there?
I think Carter Kieboom is your classic quadruple A player. You'll see him bounce back and forth. He just doesn't seem to have a very advanced. Watched him last night. He got an 0-1. He swung and missed at a slider to go 0-1. The guy threw the exact same pitch. And he swung and missed in the exact same way again to go 0-2. It's like he doesn't know it's coming. Well, if you missed that badly on the first one, of course you're going to get the same, heavy breaking pitch. He just doesn't seem to pick it up like Garcia does. He's a man without a position now. He was drafted as a shortstop. Then they said they were going to make him a second baseman in order to replace Murphy when Daniel Murphy left. Then they moved him to third base, which he's never really played before, and said, hey, play everyday third base in the major leagues and be good at it and, hit 280. Thanks, because we let Anthony Rendon go. Just hasn't worked out.
So Don't you think you're getting a little spoiled by the Juan Soto experience? They expect that he's going to come up and knock the socks out of the ball and look like a major leaguer right in his first opportunity. Granted, that's the way the Nats certainly put him in position to do that this year. But do you think it's a little premature to throw the dirt on him already?
Well, it's a fair question, but this is the second time. Remember, he got called up last year, too. I think he went something like 3 for 38 struck out a third of the time, and they started the season this year, and he was hitting less than 200, striking out a third of the time. How many times can you put that guy in the game when you're trying to win Major League games? He just looks overmatched at the plate. It's like the Michael A. Taylor experience. He might drill a homer every once in a while and tantalize you with the way that ball looked like coming off his bat, but I just don't see him putting it together into a full-time starting third baseman role.
So on that note, though, that's something I never understand. Why bring a guy up and ask him to basically learn a new position in the major leagues? Why don't they move him if he can hit, why don't they move him to first base?
Well,
your position to learn.
You're right, but the way the roster's constructed, they've got Eric Thames, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Howie Kendrick. Those guys each play there.
He's your DH.
Yes, Kendrick's hurt right now, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, I believe that Kendrick should really be playing 88% of the time instead of the 60% of the time. But he's older.
How about looking at the future? And next year, let's say DH goes away. Who knows if it will? Probably won't. But let's say DH goes away. Kendrick's a part-time player. Why not move Kieboom to first base?
Yeah, they're not. The Nats aren't ready to give up on him organizationally. So, yeah, maybe there's a chance to do that. He's not going to the outfield. He's blocked at second and short. If I were them, I would have maybe taken Kieboom at the trade deadline this year, paired him with a veteran that we don't really need anymore, and gone out and gotten something to refresh the high, AAA, AA minor league, but they just decided not to do that. Somebody in that organization believes in Kieboom. It's probably Mike Rizzo. He's right 99% of the time, but from what I've seen, Kieboom looks completely overmatched at the plate, and that worries me.
Yeah,
Well,
well, he has put up some crazy minor league numbers, and with the way Luis Garcia is playing, hard to be too worried about Key Boom's struggles at this point. Dan, how about the Mets? They were on fire for a bit. They've fallen back here, but man, they are hitting the ball.
Well, before I get to that, I just wanted to make one quick point and ask Jack about, I know you've talked about the Nats offense or lack thereof this year kind of being a culprit for their troubles. The lack of starting pitching depth has really got to be kind of bad because it was a pretty bad plan for them to go into the season relying on Voth and Fetty, who have just been god-awful.
You're exactly right, and this goes back to the utter lack of organizational depth at the high minor level. They don't have another guy that they can bring in. Joe Ross opted out for the season. He would have been one of the starters. That's a major league starter, so you lose him. Voth and Fetty have proven, completely unusable as major league starters. Fetty, I think, could be a long man in somebody's bullpen, but Voth just, despite throwing 93 and having breaking pitches, is one of those guys who doesn't know how to put together an at-bat, throws a fastball when you want something else, and gets hammered every time. You're right. If they have prospects, they're big starting pitching prospects who we got that going for us. But again, I just think of this as a mulligan season. The Nats are talented. They're just not playing very well together right now. And I feel like losing Strasburg for the season just had a much bigger effect than anybody could have imagined because it threw off the rotation. It made Anibal Sanchez's job that much more important. And again, he's one of these, he's done it every other year, and it looks like we're in an off year for Anibal Sanchez. So, but again, we're inside the 5-year window. We won a World Series. How much can I actually complain? The other big
GM locked up for the next 3 years.
That was the other big news.
Huge news.
Yep.
Put my dreams
to
to
on
bed
to the
there.
Mets.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
Dan. They're falling back a bit, but they're hitting the ball. Dom Smith, Conforto. I mean, these guys are really coming on with the bats.
Look, you want to talk about an easy transition, what I have to talk about, lacking in starting pitching depth in the upper minors. That's the Mets to a T after Brody Van Wagenen has kind of overseen a situation where the Mets have traded pretty much every last bit of upper-level starting pitching depth that the Mets could have and would have relied on this year, necessitating the Ariel Jurados, the Rick Porcellos, the Michael Wakas of the world to come in and just make Mets fans groan in ways maybe they haven't grown before. Certainly, maybe not in a long time, because starting pitching depth was something the Mets had recently. They definitely don't have it anymore. They looked like they were about to step back into it, maybe make themselves contenders, make things interesting with that weekend series with the Phillies. They lost the first game. They won the next 2 games, Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday just lost a backbreaker, crusher of a game, late comeback against that bad Phillies bullpen. They ended up blowing it. Juris Familia giving up the tying run, losing it in extra innings because they didn't want to push Edwin Diaz for another inning, which is understandable given the results Edwin Diaz has made this year. You have a little bit of success with him. Kind of want to hit the escape hatch on it, give him a little confidence. Didn't work out. Their new trade acquisition, Miguel Castro, blew the game. Home run to Segura. In extras, that really seemed to take any wind out of the Mets' sails. Although tonight they were getting crushed, they came back again. That's against the Baltimore Orioles. Just not seeing it after the Mets lose that game.
The powerhouse Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, that known
Juggernaut.
powerhouse down in Baltimore.
The juggernaut of Baltimore.
Interesting week for the Mets, inclusive of that Phillies series, also with the death, rest in peace, Tom Seaver. Mets gave a great tribute to him by going out and winning a walk-off against the Yankees with a Pete Alonso home run.
Great tribute, too, with the dirt on the knee.
Very cool how they did that. Very cool how they did that.
Very cool, very nice touch. But unfortunately, that nice touch is probably the only thing that you're going to have left in the memorable or to be memorable in this season because it looks like the Mets are just not going to come through on all these teases that they've given repeatedly over a short 60-game season.
Question, would you rather blow a 6-0 lead and lose, or would you rather come back from down 6 and then re-blow that lead and to lose?
Boy, that's a real Metsian choice there.
The Metsian question.
It seems like every question you ask a Mets fan is some twist on a Sophie's choice. I guess I would rather I'd rather come back and lose because to
I
take the
I'd take
lead
the comeback as well,
and then
for
get
sure.
ripped again. It's a double gut punch, especially in that fashion, especially to the Phillies, who this year's Phillies who just have a terrible bullpen. You like to think that maybe they could have tacked on some runs, and they did score a run in the bottom of the 10th, but it just wasn't enough. I think Conforto flied out to end the game. Conforto, their MVP, who's been their most consistent bat this year, and he had another home run tonight, I'll note. It's not there. The Wilpons have tried to go all in to win before the window closes, but now it looks like the window is shut, and they've really set the Mets up for an interesting future because of that lack of starting pitching depth in the upper minors.
Well, Jack got his GM, and it looks like you got your new owner, Uncle
Right.
Stevie. Come on down.
Have we heard from Uncle Stevie? Has he accepted our invite yet? Come on, Stevie.
Yeah, the space is open for you, Uncle Stevie. I bet you know how to use Zoom. I bet you'd be a great guest. You got a lot of good stories.
We'll treat you better than New York Post treats J-Rod. Come on.
Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you about your new owner?
It's got to be an 11. I'm off the charts, coming off this debacle of a 20-year run by the Wilpon family. Jeff Wilpon, the Silver Spoon Kid, put in charge of the Mets because the rest of his family can't stand him and they don't want him anywhere near the Wilpon Sterling Mets family real estate business. He's really run the franchise into the ground with bad decisions. He doesn't seem like a nice guy either. And I happen to know for a fact he eats a rack of ribs with a fork and knife. That just lets you know what kind of guy we're dealing with here with this Jeff Wilpon. So
somebody's got to ask the question, how do you know how Jeff Wilpon eats his ribs of all things?
Used to go to spring training every year with my old man. One year we went to the Mets annual bowling night at Duffy's, which is right around the corner from whatever they're calling that park down there in Port St. Lucie. There was Jeff Wilpon front and center with all the guys bowling and having a good time, with a rack of ribs on his plate with a fork and knife, and he was eating it good, and I have photographic evidence of it. So it definitely happened.
That's bad. It's sad to hear, but nothing better than a father-son spring training trip.
Oh, yeah, of course. So that was the best part.
100% lock, Brody's gone as soon as the season's over?
Stone cold lock, baby. He has not too much going in his favor. I think really the bringing in of J.D. Davis really seems to be the only good thing going for him. He's overseen a couple of good drafts, but I think that's really the scouting department. And there's a specific guy, I think his name is Tommy Tanos. He's the guy who runs the draft for the Mets. That's probably a guy you can keep, separate that out from Brodie Van Wagenen, whose oversight of the major league team has just been atrocious, and he's largely been responsible for decimating that upper-level pitching depth.
Shout out to Tony Tanos. Good job with the draft. All right, let's move on to the Yanks. Just a complete disaster. Complete disaster.
What do you have to say?
You know, with after that start, I think they started 15-5. You know, hard to see that they're missing the playoffs, but you know they got a half-game lead over the O's at the moment. So,
what seed would they be if the playoffs started today? Where are they?
Oh, they'll be a lock to be the 8th seed.
Woof.
There's pretty much no chance at this point they can be anything other than
underdogs. Yankees as underdogs.
Yeah, no, I guess they could catch the Blue Jays. They could catch the Blue Jays, but
like
Blue Jays or Yanks will be the 8th seed. Just the way it works out with the two locked in division winners. But you know they got so many injuries. You know it's a roster construction problem. You know Judge and Stan always hurt, but I gotta say even with all the injuries, I'm really down on Boone. I don't understand some of his lineup construction decisions lately. You know, he keeps hitting Brett Gardner third, you know, or towards the top of the lineup. You know, keeps putting in Mike Ford, our backup first baseman, who's hitting 130. You know, and when he's in the lineup, he's hitting 4th or 5th. Then you got Andahar, who's hitting over 400 in his last 7 games. You know, he keeps hitting him at the bottom of the lineup. I don't understand what Boone's doing. You know, he won't. His kid Tyler Wade. Yeah, he talk about a 4A player. He's a single A player. I don't know how this guy ever got to the majors. Keeps putting him in every day. We got this guy Tero Estrada on the bench. Claim to fame is he's got a bullet in his leg. He was shot last year in his home country, and they didn't take the bullet out. So he currently plays with a bullet in his leg. But even with a bullet in his leg, he's better than Tyler Wade. I don't know what Boone is doing. I'm really down on him. You know, I don't see any chance he's going anywhere. he got off to such a great start. I do believe he's a good manager, but man, Aaron Boone, I don't know what you're doing. Get your act together. You can't blame this all on injuries because the Yanks should not be as bad as they are right now. And if they miss the playoffs, that's a complete disaster.
Is Boone in any legit trouble if they miss the playoffs altogether?
Yeah, he seems to be Cashman's boy. You can't run Joe Girardi, a World Series manager, out and bring in your guy Aaron Boone, who that was all Cashman, and then run Boone out after 3 seasons. I think he does have an option after this year, so they'll have, I don't know if they're going to let him manage next year on his last year of his deal. I wouldn't give him an extension at this point. I don't understand, and Aaron Boone may be slightly different. He played for the Yankees. He comes from a baseball family. He was, in the booth Sunday Night Baseball for a while. But I hate when New York teams or big market teams bring in first-time managers, especially when you're poised to win with a veteran roster. New York is not the place to learn on the job. I don't understand what the Mets were doing. They got a first-time GM and a first-time manager, so they doubled down.
Back-to-back first-time managers.
Yeah,
some buckaroos.
I always think it's a horrible decision.
Because the Mets are cheap. That's why. It makes no sense for the Yankees to do it, but the Mets have got cash flow. That's why.
It's all the new analytics, and Boone said I'll do whatever you want.
Cashman wants his yes man
give
in
me the stats, give me the formulas, and I'll plug them into the computer, and we'll throw them out there. And they got this new pitching coach who seems to be a disaster. I think we pulled him out of University of Michigan. He's a big analytics guy. The bullpen, for all the money they spent on the bullpen is healthy, somewhat healthy, and still horrible. A lot of problems for the Yanks right now, but I'm never down on my man Cashman. I think I've said this every podcast we've done. I think he's the best GM in baseball, but man, it's a tough time to be a Yankees fan. I'll tell you that.
Speaking of money and diminishing returns, Gerrit Cole, a little disappointing in his first year as a Yankee. Were you expecting a little bit more for all that money they signed him for?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm a little concerned. I was all for signing him. I was ecstatic when they signed him. But a couple of Yankees fans out there, Yankee Twitterverse, people pointed out at the time, bit risky to sign someone coming from the Houston Astros after all their cheating scandals.
Yeah.
He was a good pitcher in Pittsburgh. He was a very good pitcher in Pittsburgh, but he goes to Houston and all of a sudden turns into the best pitcher in baseball. Maybe he figured it out, maybe he didn't, but I'll tell you what, his fastball, which hasn't lost any velocity, is getting absolutely hammered.
Wow.
Exit velocity is way up on his fastball. So I don't know what's going on.
You think
tipping his pitches? I don't know
you
what.
Think, you think they had? Yeah, you think they had a system in Houston that was helping them be more successful than it really was? And they were cheating. We all know they were cheating. So
I find it hard to believe that they had the elaborate cheating system for the hitters, and they weren't doing something for the pitchers. But it never came out. Baseball kind of covered that up a little bit. I think there's way more to that story that we'll never know. But yeah, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. When the stuff is the same, you look at the those great sites out there. Shout out to baseballsavant.com, best baseball site out there. If you don't know it, check it out if you're a baseball fan. Unbelievable.
Love those StatCasts.
Don't know who runs it.
Check out our site, by the way, right, Christian? Check out our YouTube page. Send us an email while we're talking about things you should see.
Like, subscribe. But a great site. If you look at all the numbers on there, nothing's changed. Same pitch mix, same. It actually gets complicated with the spin rates and stuff. But everything I see in there looks the same. So when you're telling me the stuff is the same, but the velocity is the same, but the results are different, I'm concerned. A guy coming from Houston, I have to say I'm concerned.
Trevor Bauer's been out there for years saying that the Houston Astros and their pitchers are notorious for using substances to up their spin rates.
Yeah, look,
on
and
their
Trevor Bauer's not
fastballs.
just going out. I know he's a little wacky sometimes, but he's not just going
Little
out.
He's a
wacky.
little wacky, a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
wacky
yeah,
all the
that
time.
wacky. He's
A lot wacky.
he's out of his effing gourd, is what he is.
Even
But
so, I don't
Hell of a
believe he's
pitcher,
just
though.
going out there and saying that. Other guys know it. They're just playing by the code, and they're not saying it. Trevor Bauer doesn't do that. So he's saying what I think everyone knows. And yeah, I'm concerned. And boy, what a disaster that will be if it turns out there was some cheating going on with some substance or something.
right.
Yankees need to invent a new substance with all that dough they got.
Hey
Yeah,
Dan,
start cheating, guys. I'm tired of losing.
Dan, before we move away from baseball, just to keep the streak alive, what did Gerrit Cole do at the plate last night? Any idea?
I don't know. I don't think that he's at Seattle's alternate site. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I'm sure wherever he is, he's hitting bombs left and right.
He's in
Being a stud with the ladies, winning at whatever he's doing. That's what happens when you get traded out of the Mets organization. You become an instant stud. Whether or not he can do it in the majors, we'll see. But I guess we've given up on that being an Ixnade name on the podcast. So we're just going to I'm just going to have to grin and bear it that I'm going to have to hear a lot about Jarred Kelenic.
Also, did you guys see that Mike Trout set the all-time Anaheim Angels career home run record the other night?
I did not. I saw he had his 300th career home run.
He did, breaking the previous record of 299 by, I shit you not, Tim Salmon. Mike Trout swam right by Tim Salmon for the conference record the other night.
That's some trivia right there.
Had to be done.
Yeah, I mean, there haven't been many great. I guess Rod Carew didn't really hit home runs.
Yeah, Winfield wasn't there very long.
JT Snow didn't really hit home runs.
The great JT Snow.
They haven't had a lot of great players in their history.
No.
So,
and now they've got
and the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. So
Trout and Rendon both having pretty good years, and the Angels are absolutely horrific again. Makes no sense.
They really got.
Talk about I'm worried about the Cole contract, Ohtani contract. Man, the Yankees
that's right.
Left out there. I don't know what you do with that guy. My opinion, you just make him a full-time hitter at this point.
Yeah, you got to.
But I don't know what they're going to do. All right, boys, let's move over to the National Football League. We're going to give you our picks for the 2020 season. We'll give you division winners, conference champions, the Super Bowl matchup, and Super Bowl 55 winner. We'll sprinkle in some surprise teams throughout the way with our division and wild card picks. Remember, this year, 3 wild card teams. Only the top seed in each conference gets a bye, so a little change up there. And we'll also give you the MVP prediction for each of us for the NFL. Let's start with the AFC. Jack, who you got winning the AFC East?
In the AFC East, my home division as a longtime Jets fan. Hard to pick against Bill Belichick with the streak he's got going, so until he loses it, I'm going to stick with them. I think making Cam Newton the starter over Stidham is probably the right move. Worried about the receivers. Belichick will find a way. Pats win the division once again.
Defense, too. I got a lot of opt-outs, but yeah, hard to pick against Belichick. Dan, who you got?
I'm going to agree with the Patriots pick. I think this is the year Bill Belichick finally proves that he was the reason for all of the Patriots' success. Yeah, it's good to have an all-time quarterback like Tom Brady, but Bill Belichick is the engine that makes that team go. The GM, the coach, Mr. Do-It-All, and I think there's no better way to show an example of how he is Mr. Know-It-All than by the fact that he waited out everybody and got Cam Newton on that super cheap 1-year contract. And he's going to turn it right around, and Cam is going to remind everybody why he was a superstar a couple of years ago. Stay healthy and win the NFC East for the Patriots.
So remind everyone why he stole that laptop.
Hard to pick against Belichick, but I'm going to do it. For the first time since last century, the Buffalo Bills will win the AFC East. Still can't believe the Vikings traded up Stephon Diggs. Great local boy from over the river in Maryland. Just a great player. Can't believe the Vikings gave up on him, but I love Diggs. They got 2 good running backs in Singletary and Moss. Love their defense. Tre'Davious White's a great player, and I believe in Josh Allen. I think he's the new Big Ben. So he's going to run for I think he had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. I think he'll do that again this year. Buffalo Bills win the AFC East. Jack, who you got winning the AFC North?
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens, my man Lamar Jackson. I think he's an MVP candidate. I think the Ravens are going to run the ball down everybody's throat once again. I know Marshall Yanda retired, but they had some depth there. J.K. Dobbins could be an offensive rookie of the year candidate, and the defense is stacked once again. The other thing is that's a well-run organization with the coaching staff that's been around a long time. I know Big Ben's back for Pittsburgh, but I'm going to go with the Ravens. They somehow pull it out.
Dan, who you got?
I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers were surprisingly good last year. Their defense is studs at every level. They've got Ben coming back. All the reports seem to indicate Ben is healthy, ripping the ball. All he needs to do is just have some time to stand back there. He's a statue, doesn't move much anymore, but he's still got that rocket arm. He's got downfield targets. He's got a good running game with James Conner, who's similarly healthy. They've got all the pieces, and they got a great coach in Mike Tomlin. I like the Steelers to win the North.
Dupree, Watt, Tuitt, Hayward, Minka, Devin Bush. I think the Steelers have the best defense in the NFL. I'm with you, Dan. I think they win the AFC North. And watch out, everything you read out of Pittsburgh is Chase Claypool, rookie wide receiver out of Notre Dame.
There we go.
Juju with the big comeback year too, I think. Deontay Johnson and Claypool. They've got very talented guys to catch the ball there.
And I'll give you a deep fantasy sleeper. Watch out for rookie running back Anthony McFarland from Maryland. Connor's got a lot of injury issues. I think McFarland will step in and make plays early on for the Steelers this year. Dan, who you got winning the AFC South?
AFC South, I got the Texans. Maybe a little bit of a homer pick with old Bill O'Brien, who just seems to keep failing upwards with the Texans. Pretty sure they're going to name the team the Houston Bill O'Briens in a couple of years. He's just going to keep adding duties and responsibilities.
Does he now parks cars? Yep, he does it all.
They've got a very good team. I don't like anybody else in that division. Not a big thinker that the Colts are going to do really a whole lot with aged Phil Rivers at quarterback. Deshaun Watson is an MVP candidate himself. I think he's a dark horse for the MVP this year. As Bill Simmons would call it, Ewing theory potential without DeAndre Hopkins in the mix. But they got Will Fuller, I think, and also with the addition of David Johnson in the backfield, has a big comeback year. And a great defense led by J.J. Watt. I think the Texans are going to take the South.
Jack, who you got?
I think Phil Rivers has got one more year left in him, so I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. I feel like they have a really good offense that had been built around a big hole. Jacoby Brissett, okay, but not the sort of guy who's going to go win you a bunch of playoff games. Rivers done that before. I think he's on a better team. I think he's got some demons to exercise. I don't love everybody else in the division. I think Deshaun Watson is the best player in the entire division, but I think the rest of that team is garbage because I think Bill O'Brien's a terrible GM. And so, although Bill O'Brien did win games with starting Christian Hackenberg at quarterback, didn't he? So he obviously knows how to coach, but I just don't know how he knows how to pick the groceries. Speaking of Ewing theory, a lot of people gloss over this. The Nats just lived the Ewing theory.
Oh, they did 100%.
That's what I believes, and they immediately win the World Series.
Mm-hmm. And I said it to anybody who would listen that once Bryce Harper left, they were going to be much better. And I don't know that I said that to any of you, but I said it to somebody. So if I said it to you, make sure to email us and confirm it that I said it to you.
Gotcha.
I'm with you, Jack. I think the Colts have the best offensive line in football, and rookie Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin behind that offensive line is going to go wild. Bonus pick. He's your offensive rookie of the year. I got the Colts winning the AFC South. Jack, who you got winning the AFC West?
AFC West. There's news this week with the Von Miller injury. I wanted to be bold and think about going someplace else, but now I can't. I don't feel that confident. So the Kansas City Chiefs are going to run away with the AFC West. As weird as I feel picking Andy Reid as a heavy favorite in anything, it's got to be the Chiefs. Mahomes is incredible.
Dan?
Give me Big Red and the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, best player in the NFL, hands down. Hurt. Healthy, doesn't matter. He's better than all the rest. He's amazing. You got to watch him when he plays. And they are easily going to win the AFC West this year.
I wondered.
Nothing more needs to be said there. Chiefs win the AFC West. Jack, give me your 3 AFC wild card teams.
I wanted to go with Denver. I don't think I can. The Buffalo Bills are definitely going to get in. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get in. I'm going to go out on a limb here because I don't really feel confident in anybody else. Give me Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., and the Cleveland Browns. They sneak in as the third wild card. Honestly, I wanted Denver.
AFC is so top heavy. It's not
Yeah, there's not a lot of great teams. Give me a quarterback and who's got weapons around them. They're due. I mean,
Myles Garrett rushing the passer.
Yeah, the due theory. I would have picked Denver, but this whole Von Miller thing really throws me off there.
I like Stefanski too. I think he's going to be a good coach. All right, Dan, give us your 3 AFC wildcard teams.
My 3 AFC wildcard teams are the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if they'll be able to replicate the magic that they had last year, success in running the ball. I very much doubt they will be able to replicate that success. But Lamar Jackson, I think, takes another step forward as a quarterback, but he doesn't lose that rushing edge. Hopefully he's able to stay healthy. Adding J.K. Dobbins into the mix, I think he's an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate because I think he's going to rip the ball away from Mark Ingram by week 3 of this season. Legendarily great defense, always great special teams with Baltimore, with the special teams coach at the helm. So I like Baltimore. I like Buffalo to take another wild card spot. Josh Allen. I think he's great as a goal line back. I don't even think they need a running game with him in the backfield, built like a house, so he can certainly absorb the blows.
Like a house.
They've got great downfield threats in John Brown, and now with the addition of Stephon Diggs, and a great defensive-minded head coach who leads an outstanding defense. Bills are definitely going to be a playoff team this coming season. And my final team that I am going to pick for the AFC. Boy, it's tough to think of anybody else. I guess I'm just going to go with the Tennessee Titans. For whatever reason, I like Mike Vrabel. He's a good coach. They have a no-name defense that gets the job done. And Derrick Henry made the leap last year. I don't believe in Ryan Tannehill. I think that's a one-year wonder what they got out of him last year. But I think Derrick Henry has the goods. I think he adds an additional dimension this year with some more pass catching out of the backfield. But once you get that man started, you cannot stop him. He will plow over anybody. And I think that's good enough to get them into the wild card.
And I've got the Ravens. I don't think they take the league by storm this year, but I do think they make the playoffs. I've got the Texans. If you got Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt, I think just those two alone are good enough to get you in the playoffs in the AFC. And I got the Browns as well. They got so much talent. I like Stefanski. I think they sneak in. Yeah, I could see them maybe being one of those
Is this the Cleveland Browns we're talking about, or some other Browns from some city I haven't heard of?
It's a high school team.
I don't believe in Ryan Tannehill making the playoffs.
I don't either. Think about that. You really think Ryan Tannehill? I saw Ryan Tannehill play live in college. I had the pleasure of going to Kyle Field at Texas A&M to see the Aggies kick the crap out of Kansas when he was the starter there. And the best part about that team, was the entertainment on the sidelines. He's not that good. I just can't see him doing it twice.
I believe in neither Ryan Tannehill nor Baker Mayfield. What I do believe in, as I clearly stated, was Derrick Henry and that running game and that defense in Tennessee. I just don't see it in Cleveland. I didn't see it working last year with Freddie Kitchens. I don't see it working with Stefanski at the head. Rookie coach, good offensive mind, but they still have all those wacky personalities in Cleveland. Kareem Hunt taking a bigger role. They gave him a ton of dough. And I'm not a big believer in their ownership group having their head out of their exterior.
Yeah, their owners are asses. We know that. But
your franchise takes on the form of your ownership, and I just don't see it for these Cleveland Browns. Too many wacky personalities out there. It's just not coming together for them.
Too much wackiness. And Dan, you got to forgive OBJ, man. It's time. Christians let it go. Christians let it go. You got to let it go, man. Come on.
I let it go, and I thought the Giants should have never traded him, but that ship sailed a long time ago, and obviously it didn't make the Giants any better, so it just kind of is what it is at this point.
All right, let's move over to the National Football Conference. Dan, who got winning the NFC East?
NFC East, as much as it pains me to say it, got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Consistency, head coaching consistency, front office consistency, maybe consistency with Wentz if he stays healthy this year, although I don't know that it really matters. Maybe they could have 41-year-old, oldest practice squad player in the league, quarterback come back in, McCown.
She's getting $12,000 a week to stay 7 states away and do nothing. Incredible.
But listen, their offensive line is obviously banged up. Their wide receivers are getting healthy. Their skill position players are getting healthy. But I think the key for the Eagles is that their offensive line got banged up very early in training camp. Those guys have had a little while to figure things out. They lost the left tackle Dillard that they just drafted last year a little bit later in camp, but we'll just go move legendary All-Pro Jason Peters, who we signed off the street a couple weeks ago, right back into his usual spot in left tackle. That's continuity from last year. It's not a big change for the Eagles. So I think that they're going to have that offensive line gelled and ready to go. Doug Peterson will coach them up. Eagles, hands down, NFC East champions.
Jack, who you got?
Somebody's got to win that division. You can probably eliminate the Skins and the Giants, the Washington football team and the Giants right off the bat. I think the Eagles are way too banged up to be able to do this. They're starting the season getting banged up. How often do NFL teams go from really banged up to really healthy in the midst of a 16-game season? That worries me. Their offensive line worries me. Telling you, the Dallas Cowboys are going to win that division. Prescott is Aikman. Blake Jarwin's an emerging Novacek. Ezekiel Elliott is Emmitt Smith light, and Amari Cooper is the new Michael Irvin, and there's a lot less cocaine going around. I think that offense is going to explode. They're going to run away with the division, actually.
So a couple weeks ago, I picked the Eagles to win the NFC East, but they're just too banged up. Hargrave, who they signed from the Steelers, out for a while. Alshon, who knows when he's going to play, if he's going to play. Miles Sanders is hurt. Jalen Reagor is hurt. Lane Johnson is hurt. Derek Barnett is hurt. I mean, they just got so many injuries. So I'm throwing that pick out. I looked at the Cowboys, but I just don't believe in Dak.
Oh, get out of here.
And I don't believe in the defense. And, boys, people come to this podcast here, and your 2020 NFC East Division champions will be the New York football Giants.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow, you're drunk.
Let me tell you this. So
You're drunk.
Cowboys, everyone's high on the Cowboys, right?
You're drunk.
For their offense. So I put the two offenses down side by side. Giants got the better running back. Cowboys got the better wide receivers. Giants got 2 tight ends that are better than the Cowboys starting tight end. Cowboys got the better offensive line, although offensive line not nearly as good as it was a couple of years ago. Lyle Collins out for probably half the season. He's got an injury.
And
horrible for offense.
They
got some guy playing center I've never even heard of.
Yeah, Travis Frederick retired. Frederick retiring in the offseason did hurt, but they still Martin.
The Cowboys got the better offensive line. But it all comes down to the quarterback. And the Giants got the better quarterback.
You think Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott? After the 3 years that
I know Daniel Jones is a better quarterback.
Wow. Oh,
I love the Logan Ryan signing.
He's a taller quarterback. I don't think he's a better quarterback.
And I look at the secondaries, and I like the Giants secondary at this point. Bradbury, Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers. I think I recognize one player out of the Cowboys starting secondary this year. The other 3 guys I never even heard of.
I'll bet you $90,000. I'll bet you.
Giants. You heard it here first. I guarantee this is the only podcast in America where someone is picking the Giants to win the division. You heard it here first. New York Giants win the NFC East.
Guys, next week's episode of Giants Apologists will be.
I'm gonna need some time. I'm gonna need some time to recover from this. I'm gonna need some time to recover from this.
Monday night.
When Pittsburgh
Monday night will be doing a special post. It'll probably be up Tuesday, to be honest. It'll be a special post Monday Night Football Giants Steelers podcast. We'll revisit this pick.
This is bold. Then you've got to be predicting a win for week 1.
I was going to say the Giants over the Steelers too.
Pittsburgh.
You don't have to win it. You don't have to win in week 1. I can. 2007, they lost. Remember, we lost to the Colts. Peyton, got to win in week 1 to win the Super Bowl. We know that. We've seen that with the Giants. All right, let's go to the NFC North. Dan, who you got? Should I go to Jack? Can you speak?
I'll take this one real
Let's
quick.
go to Jack. Who you got winning NFC North?
Give me a couple minutes. I got to
Despite-
recover from this.
Despite stupidly giving up on Stefan Diggs and trading him away, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know.
I'll give you. Go ahead.
It's not the Bears. It's not the Lions. I don't trust the offense that the Packers have managed to put around Aaron Rodgers. Just unforgivable to take Jordan Love with the 27th pick this year when there were lots of receivers, some sort of weapon to help out Aaron Rodgers. He got a couple years left, but I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. That defense is going to be great again.
Yeah, I struggled with this division. I didn't know who to go with. I like the Lions, but I just can't bet on Patricia. I'm going with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is pissed off. I think he's going to win the division this year. Dan, who you got?
I got the Vikings as well. The Packers have been systematically alienating Aaron Rodgers for what feels like the last 2 years, culminating with that Jordan Love pick. I just don't think they have a very strong team. Otherwise, they certainly haven't been investing in any skill position help for Aaron Rodgers. And then even getting A.J. Dillon at running back, even though they have Aaron Jones, who's kind of showed out the last couple of years, showed maybe he could handle the load. I believe in the Vikings' best head coach in the division in Mike Zimmer. Not a big believer in Kirk Cousins, but he's good enough to win the division for them. Their defense is very, very good, helmed by Zimmer. Skill position, obviously a little weaker without Stephon Diggs, but I think they're going to ride their running game this year. And I think Adam Thielen shows you why they were confident enough to get rid of Stephon Diggs and does all the important catching in their receiving game that they'll need to get.
Keep it going, Dan. Tell us who you got winning the NFC South.
NFC South, got to go with the New Orleans Saints. Feels like a kind of last ride for this version of the Saints with Drew Brees. Very strong defense, helmed by Dennis Allen, who is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. They got a ton of talent, Marshawn Lattimore, Cam Jordan. And the offense is great. Brees may not be what he is, but Peyton is creative enough, as demonstrated by the mysterious relevance of Taysom Hill in a multifaceted role, and Alvin Kamara, who should be the recipient of a new contract extension soon. Saints, South winners, easy.
Jack?
One of my favorite cities in the world. I once saw Sean Payton at the airport. We'll go with the New Orleans Saints. I think they take it rather easily, actually.
Yeah, Saints all around. Clearly the class of the NFC. I love that they went out and got Emmanuel Sanders for Breeze. I think this is his last year, and he walks off into the sunset into a booth somewhere next season. Jack, tell us who you got winning the NFC West.
Oh, man, this is so tough. I'll go with the Niners. Had some feelings about the Seattle Seahawks, obviously. I don't think that I can ever root for Pete Carroll to do anything due to the USC Notre Dame rivalry and the Bush push. I think the Niners have got a really good offense. That defensive line remains good, and I think Kyle Shanahan's a brilliant coach. So I don't know that the Niners are going to the Super Bowl again this year, but I think they can win their division.
Dan, who you got?
I'm going to dispense or depart from my usual analysis to say my pick is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. But I had a colleague of mine raise an interesting point to me. The inconsistency between Seattle and Seahawks and how they're pronounced. Is it Seattle Seahawks? Is it Seattle Seahawks? It's very inconsistent. I have a hard time with it ever since you mentioned it to me. But no matter what, I'll think about it, and the Seahawks will be the NFC West champions.
Okay. All right.
Apparently they don't.
Analysis.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going with the Seahawks as well. I love Russell Wilson, great Virginia boy, but I just think I don't believe in a lot of the traditional jinxes, but I do think the Super Bowl hangover is real. They got some injuries too. D Ford's banged up, Bosa's banged up. Their two best wide receivers are banged up. I actually got them missing the playoffs, and I think the Seahawks will win the division. Jack, tell us who you got for your NFC 3 wildcard teams.
I think I'm going with the Seahawks. I think get in. Give me the Green Bay Packers because a pissed off and brokenhearted Aaron Rodgers is probably a playoff Aaron Rodgers. And as much as it pains me to say this with Brady moving down to Tampa Bay, I think Bruce Arians is a good coach. And with the Aggie and the Nittany Lion, Godwin, and Evans as the receiving core down there, they're going to go nuts. I don't think Gronk will make much of a difference, but I think Tampa Bay's got the third wild card.
Dan?
Let me just go back to and add just a little bit of analysis to my Seahawks pick. They're just one of those low-key, quiet, great teams. They don't show out all that much, although they certainly could with Russell Wilson at quarterback. But they're just a low-key, great team. As to the wild card picks, I like the Buccaneers as a wild card team. I think Tom Brady is not going to be, proving that he's still got it this year. I think he's very much physically compromised at this age, despite the fact he can drink all the water and all the special vitamins and Alex Guerrero stuff that he wants. He is aging. He can't fight Father Time, but they've got enough pieces and a good enough defense to be a wild card team this year. My bold pick for a wild card team this year is the Arizona Cardinals, led by that Cliff Kingsbury offense. I think it's going to be real creative. And show a new dimension, a new edge in this NFL season. Kyler Murray, MVP candidate. DeAndre Hopkins added into the mix. Kenyon Drake got a breath of new life when he went to Arizona. I think that all continues this year. That is an offense that becomes almost impossible to stop. Their defense might not be good, but they can win those types of shootouts and easily become a wild card team. And my final wild card team is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. I agree with you, Christian. I think there's some element of a hangover. I don't think that they're good. They're that good. Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, is a good play caller, but I'm just not convinced. And I was never a big believer in their defense. And with Bosa already ailing, I think, and losing DeForest Buckner as well, trading him to the Colts, I think that's another big piece that they're going to be missing this year. Don't think they'll be as good as last year, but in the putrid NFC, they're good enough to get a wild card spot.
Handsome.
And on the 49ers, I just don't believe in Garoppolo.
Really? He's got
so
face.
handsome, though.
Trying to think
Handsome
back.
quarterbacks win. He's got the face.
He was
so
so
handsome.
bad in the Super Bowl. I mean, do you ever see a great quarterback come up so low in a big spot like that and then turn out great? I just don't think so. I don't believe in Garoppolo. I think he was a product of Shanahan. And I think
it's a product of that running game. They're a run-first team.
Yeah.
They got a good committee.
He's
and
Trent
they know how to
Dilfer.
run it well.
Yeah, he's Trent Dilfer with better hair, but that works. That can work for a
They
year.
don't have enough,
I think he's a little better than Trent Dilfer.
They don't have enough to win with a Trent Dilfer quarterback, I don't think. And
they don't really have.
For my wild card teams, I got the Cowboys, the Bucs, and the Vikings. I agree with everything you guys have said about those teams previously, about why they will make the playoffs.
So wait, Christian, does that mean that neither of us have the Eagles going? Because I have the Eagles out.
Yeah, we all have the Eagles out. No,
No, I have the Eagles winning the East.
Yeah, you and I have the Eagles out.
I agree.
Injuries for me.
I think the Eagles.
I'm a huge Carson Wentz fan. I love Wentz.
I love him, but he's going to get hurt, and they're going to be terrible.
You guys
All
are
right,
crazy.
Dan.
You guys watch. That's
All
a
right,
good
Dan,
team.
tell us who your
and good
AFC
leadership.
and NFC champions are.
All right, so my NFC champions I'll start off with. As I said when I was going over why they'll win the NFC South, this feels like a storybook type of season for the New Orleans Saints. Last ride with Drew Brees. I like them to come out strong of the NFC as the conference champions.
Who you got in the AFC?
AFC, I've got another, maybe not riding into the sunset, but another continuation of a season-long storyline that will be the reason for the New England Patriots' success is the great Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick and Cam Newton will manage to win the AFC and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, which will include defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in New England.
Woo.
Wow, the Patriots again. I mean, if that happens,
No way.
Bill Belichick's the greatest coach in the history of coaching, but no chance.
That's got to be where that run
That's
ends.
a prediction.
Wow, that is something that they made the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
Jack, who you got winning the conferences this year?
All right, so I think it's really hard to repeat as a Super Bowl champion. And I think that the fact having no fans in the stands is going to make a difference for a couple teams that usually have great home field advantage. Arrowhead Stadium being one of them. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC. On the NFC side, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. I really believe in that team. I believe in Jalen Smith, and I believe in the offense. So I'm going to go with the Ravens and the Cowboys, and I think that the Super Bowl 55 champions are going to be the Baltimore Ravens, and then Lamar Jackson's going to go take the Lombardi Trophy and stick it up Bill Polian's ass, and I'm going to enjoy watching that. So,
well, that'll make for a very entertaining segment.
It will. It'll happen right in the locker room afterwards when they're dumping champagne out on each other.
That'll be some sight.
Yep.
Probably going to be uncomfortable.
I got winning the AFC. I got the Chiefs. I will be giving no analysis on the Chiefs this year. I will simply say Mahomes. Every time we talk about the Chiefs. And your NFC 2020 champions.
Don't even.
The new.
Get out of here.
Saints.
All right.
Truly a class
What a
of
tease.
NFC.
What a
I think
tease.
this is going to be
Always a tease.
season where there are truly two great teams, and it's going to be obvious all season that we are on course for a Chiefs-Saints Super Bowl. Nothing against the Ravens. I think they're the closest to those two teams, but I think the Chiefs and the Saints.
Plus the officials owe.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the officials owe the Saints a call in the playoffs at this point. So if you needed anybody to get something like that, it would be that.
It's about 4,000 calls. So.
Making up for past transgressions.
We're
way due.
You got Super Bowls.
I'm going all the way with this legend of Belichick. I am picking the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl.
Belichick truly cements his position as the greatest, not just football coach, greatest coach of any sport of all time.
And McDaniels once again, the hottest coaching candidate out there after the season, and he's going to go and bolt and take another job because now at this point with Bill Belichick cementing his legacy, they're going to have to bury him before he leaves that head coaching job in New England.
Well,
if that happens, what do you do if you're Belichick? I mean, do you go to Kraft and say, pay me $50 million? I mean, what do you even do at that point?
You retire and you move to an island.
And do what?
I don't think that doesn't seem to me the move that he pulls. I think he gets a lot of money, he gets a very public apology.
And then say, I'm going to win this year with Stidham? I mean, what?
He could call his own shot at that point, but I certainly think that Robert Kraft needs to go public and owe an apology and give him a big fawning press conference and talk about how he's the greatest coach of all time and that they're renaming Gillette Stadium Bill Belichick Stadium.
I'll tell you right.
On the stage, taking the Lombardi Trophy for Super Bowl 55, when they go to him with the mic, does he take a shot at Brady? A veiled shot.
1,000% yes.
I think it's you could pretty much
write
it down.
It's always been about the New England Patriot organization. That's how we do it.
And it will be glorious.
I'm already excited about reading about it on Twitter.
You want a hot take for Belichick's next job then if you don't think he's going to go retire? United States Naval Academy. Here's my hot take. He tries to go win them a national title.
All right, boys, and for my Super Bowl winner, I got the Chiefs repeating. Again, no analysis. Mahomes.
I see we have a lot of faith in the NFC this year, huh?
Yeah, I love the Saints. I mean, if Mahomes gets injured, Saints are winning the Super Bowl. No doubt about it.
Not a lot of love in the NFC this year.
We got three NFC winners there.
To a record-setting Super Bowl winning career.
Not a lot to love in the division.
All right, boys. I'll kick it off with MVP. You know where I'm going. Mahomes. Who you got?
I agree with Patrick Mahomes. I think Deshaun Watson is a very big threat. I think he's going to have a great year this year. But Mahomes MVP.
As much as it pains me to pick a Buckeye, I'm going with Ezekiel Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys.
A running back.
Quarterbacks have won a few. Again, I feel like it's the Ewing theory. Somebody else is due.
Scenario, is Mahomes hurt?
No, in this scenario that the Chiefs are really good and Mahomes has a slightly less – you know what this is? This is Karl Malone winning an NBA MVP in the 90s. They picked the guy who might have had the hotter season that year, even though Mahomes was clearly more valuable. Elliott puts up McCaffrey-like numbers, but on a team that wins the division. And he wins because everyone says, oh, he was more valuable this year because Mahomes plays on a better team. It happens.
It does happen. It does happen. All right, boys, we are 1 day away from the NFL kicking off. I cannot believe it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And tune in next week where we will have a special edition post-game New York Giants podcast following Monday Night Football, Giants Steelers.
We got our surprise picks on tap here.
They can't be missed. Well, I covered mine. You got mine with the Giants.
I'm going with the Eagles finish under 500.
I am going to say that the Cowboys will be the big disappointment next year.
All right.
I agree with you, Christian, on your analysis of their defense. It's going to be bad. I never believed much in Mike McCarthy. I don't think he's going to be the savior that they're looking for. I really didn't see a whole lot out of Kellen Moore's offense last year that led me to believe that this is now one of the top offenses in the league. I know they have the pieces at the skill position, but I just don't see them putting it all together, at least enough to hit their 10-win total that Vegas is predicting. I think they fall well short of that, and they are a huge disappointment yet again for all the Cowboys fans out there in the United States.
I can see it. I don't love McCarthy. I don't think he's that great of a coach. I'll give you guys a bonus. I think the Washington football team.
WFT, the Washington football
team. I think they're going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for, simply because Chase Young will be the best rookie defensive player to come into the league since, I don't know, Javon Curse. I can't even, going back.
So glad the Giants won that game. So glad they won that game. Huge.
And by next season, Chase Young will be the best defensive player in NFL football. So I think the Redskins will be a little bit better because they're going to have a really good defense.
What a big late season win for the Giants.
Yeah, DeMatha High School in Hyattsville, Maryland has produced a number 1 NBA pick and a number 2 NFL pick in the last 5 years, Markelle Fultz and Chase Young. I mean, what an incredible athletic program they got. Both of those guys, they went to high school at the same time.
Very impressive.
All right, boys, we've put our picks in. Let's play the game, see where things land. All right, and before we sign off, Jack, you're a diehard Notre Dame fan. They kick off their season this Saturday against Duke. What do you think? In a conference for the first time, they got a shot at the national championship?
I think they've got a shot at the national championship playoff, but I don't think they can win it all. Exciting. It's a little bittersweet, though, to not have the Big Ten playing. We got no Penn State. We've got no Rutgers. Got no Maryland. I love college football. Probably one of my, after baseball, maybe my favorite season. I don't think they can win the ACC. They'd have to beat Clemson twice to do that. I don't think they can beat Clemson in an ACC title game, but the game to watch out for, November 7th in South Bend, Notre Dame will host Clemson. If Clemson goes in undefeated, they'll be trying to break the all-time ACC winning streak record that day in Notre Dame. Notre Dame has won some kind of important games over the past 10 years. They haven't won a hugely important game probably since the 1990s. I think they do it. I think they beat Clemson November 7th in South Bend. I'm looking forward to that. I think they're the second best team in the ACC. I mean, who else is better? North Carolina, Florida State's down, Miami's down. I think they're going to have a good year. They can go 11-1, make the playoff, and then get crushed by Alabama or whoever they get stuck with.
And anybody jumping on the bandwagon this year, if your team's not playing and you want to watch Notre Dame, give us 1 or 2 players that everyone should know.
You got the Jeremiah Owasor, hyphenated last name. He's the rush end linebacker that they've got on defense. He came out of nowhere last year to get real good, and now they're looking at him a top 15 pick. So if you're an NFL team that's lacking in pass rush, this guy's a first rounder, and he's like a Justin Tuck plus. On the offensive line, they have got their offensive line returns in its entirety. Liam Eichenberg is the left tackle. If you're going to need a left tackle next year in the NFL, he started more than 70 straight games there, comes from a long line of good Notre Dame tackles. A lot of people call him Mike McGlinchey Jr., who's become the stalwart for the Niners, so there's 2 guys to keep an eye on. And yes, Christian, Ian Book is still in college. He will start for Notre Dame against the hated Duke Blue Devils on Saturday. I'm going Irish 35, Duke 10.
Man, you guys brought the bold hot take thunder this week. I'm without words.
All right.
I'm without words, Cotton.
One last thing before we go. I think we've all seen it by now. U.S. Open, Novak Djokovic gets ejected or whatever the tennis term is.
Defaulted.
For hitting the ball at the umpire. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's all over Twitter, YouTube, etc. What is the U.S. Open doing here? You cannot eject your best player from a tournament when you don't have the other best players in the tournament. What are they doing?
And I realize I'm the tennis guy around here, so I'm going to do my best to explain. First, I'll admit that I don't know that there is a hard and fast written down rule in the rule book that says if you do what he did, you are automatically defaulted. So, Christian, you've mentioned that you're right in that they have some latitude. I think the unwritten rule is that if you whack a ball at that speed, whether or not you were looking and whether or not that was intent, if that ball strikes one of the match's officials in the throat, you get defaulted. I think that's kind of how they looked at it. I don't know why it took them 17 minutes to decide this. I will also say that if Rafael Nadal or Roger Federer had done that, I don't think they would have been defaulted from the tournament. I think it's slightly different for Novak. They need to get that rule down and tell us exactly how it works, why there's so much discretion. Plus, they called over the tournament official, the head tournament official, never looked at a replay or anything, only discussed it with the chair umpire. Brad Gilbert mentioned that on TV. Maybe they could have taken a look at it again, but you could hear this lady scream. As soon as she screamed and gasped for air, you knew Novak was getting tossed.
It's a set of bad circumstances for him, probably not fully intending to hurt somebody or even hit somebody, but he was definitely intended to hit the ball. It was a petulant move, not something that a top player would do. Conduct unbecoming of a top player. And look, in any sport, you make contact with an official, you are the hell out. So I agree with it. They were certainly justified in doing it. I get he's a top star, big draw. You're going to need those ratings this year if you're the U.S. Open tournament, if you're CBS, but definitely warranted. Right call.
And so I can get it on the.
I don't agree with this in any sport. I think if you accidentally hit it, if you threw your bat down in anger and it popped up and hit the umpire in the face, you wouldn't get ejected from the game.
As a high school softball umpire, if that bat comes up and hits me,
high school.
I'm ejecting everybody.
Major League Baseball, if that happened, you would not be ejected from the game.
Have you seen Major League umpires these days? They'll eject you.
Joe West threw Mike Rizzo out from the club level the other day. They're looking for reasons to toss people.
These guys love tossing people, so don't use baseball as an example.
I get it, but when that lady audibly half screamed on ESPN national television, they had to throw him out. What were they going to say? Oops, because you're rated high, we don't have to this time. They got to codify that rule. I totally understand that. I'm not sure that it was handled perfectly, but he had to get tossed for something like that.
I don't know the exact rule, but if that's a rule and he had to be ejected, fine. But that rule should be changed.
I mean,
that was dumb that he got ejected. Give him a penalty, make him lose the game, whatever. But
Novak,
it hurts the sport.
Novak Djokovic hitting a half-speed forehand is like 70 miles an hour. I mean,
end of the day, it hurts the sport. It's bad for the sport.
Tennis is effed every way from Sunday already.
When you're in the grave, stop digging is the first rule, right? So
what hurts the sport is having your supposed best player do something so dumb and so childish as that. So strict liability.
He's an asshole.
You think if they didn't eject them, people were going to turn it off and stop watching?
He's an idiot because he's chasing Nadal and Federer. He's got 17 Grand Slams. He could have won this one without them being around. And real quick, so I can get it on the record, Daniil Medvedev, remember that name? He's the third seed. He's incredible. He's going to win the U.S. Open.
They ejected the best player.
Well, hey, he's not in it anymore, so now I'm picking Daniil Medvedev because he didn't get ejected.
I want, all right, tennis, I'm sure you got some rules somewhere. I want the biggest asterisk that has ever been put on a trophy on, I don't even know what the guy's name is, whoever you just said, on his trophy. Because he didn't really earn it.
Rules are rules.
No matter who you are, you can't break the rules.
It's been fun, great show. Thank you for tuning in. Give us a like, subscribe to our page, and we'll be back next week with another episode of East Coast Bias.